Political art has been around for generations, but this election it's got a new spin. Younger artists and designers have come out and remade or remixed images of Senator Barack Obama on posters, t shirts, and billboards. Take Justin BUA. His fine art posters and illustrations show the beauty and struggle of life in the cities. His work is collected in a book called The Beat of Urban Art. He's also taken a foray into political illustration. BUA, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
So you're somebody who you can find your art in so many different places, on people's walls, on T-shirts. You're someone who has kind of come up out of the 80s hip hop scene and made a life for yourself, not only as an artist but an entrepreneur. A lot of times I end up describing things, but you in your book have this. You have so many different illustrations, and I want you to describe one of them. So I wonder if you can crack open your own book and describe
Sure.
your piece, Rising, to us.
Rising is really a painting about rising above the insurmountable stigma of the projects. Really where onlookers sneer and there's a lot of player haters. There's really only one way to rise above the stigma, and that is, in this case, through basketball. And that came from my experiences playing ball and hanging out at the Douglas and Dykeman projects, and just, knowing that a lot of these brothers thought that this was the only way out and the only way that they knew. Otherwise it was selling drugs or hustling.
So how did you choose to depict that?
I showed it from an anti point of view, or a knock down on your butt perspective. I wanted to really show how dramatic it was and theatrical it was, and it is, and playing ball in the projects is no joke because there's no rules.
This has this incredible sort of blue swirl in the middle that's actually the it's the basketball pole.
Yeah.
It's the so that's something that really fascinated me, is that you take life and you bend it a little bit.
Well, it's skewed, and I did a very classical S curve of the basket, which is a very Renaissance technique, and it all revolves around two C curves, which is an S curve. And then I saw it later on in a Michael Jordan commercial, and I was like, I know they bit my stuff because I came up with that first. So, and I also wanted to show, that the city is very claustrophobic in terms of the undulating terracotta. It's everywhere, and I wanted to feel like it was closed in, and there was only a sluice of sky that we could see because, as a kid in New York, that's how sometimes you see the city. You just see these gigantic architectural monuments, and then there's just a little bit of sky, which kind of in this case represents a little bit of hope.
All right. Well, speaking of hope, someone named Shepard Fairey he did an Obama poster with the word hope at the bottom, and it's become viral. But you've also got an Obama poster, and I want you to grab it off the table and describe for us what you see in your own work and how you chose to depict Barack Obama.
Well, Shepard jumped on the train really early, and it was really cool. And I think he inspired a lot of artists to kind of get involved. And Shepard was actually the one that asked me to be involved in the Manifest Hope Gallery that they were having in conjunction with the DNC.
That was an exhibit that was of different artists kind of doing this,
different
the visuals that were related to Senator Obama and
That's
politics.
right. Different iterations and paintings of Senator Obama. Ron English did one of him as kind of morphing into Abe Lincoln. Shepard's hope thing, was enormous. I did one of Obama looking obviously very hopeful into the city. Behind him is a cityscape, and rising is the sun. I wanted it to be during the sunrise, and so he's being backlit by the sun in warm light. And the reason I did the city is because, he's from the city. He can relate to the city. He's raised by a single mom on food stamps, which is much like my experience growing up in Harlem. And, I wrote one on it because he really represents one, one global community, ethnically diverse, one nation, and really someone that we can, for the first time, being from urban life, relate to, besides Clinton, by the way.
Are you worried about there being an element of hero worship to this? I mean, both in the fact that so many artists are depicting him, but also in the way that he's depicted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I think there is a lot of hero worship, but in contrast to what's out there, he is a hero. I think that I haven't been so inspired to do anything and get so involved since Clinton. And I was working grassroots for that campaign, and for this, I've always kept my work about hip hop and jazz and the urban experience. My work is really about celebrating urban life, and to me, Obama represents that. He really does celebrate urban life, and he's someone that's very relatable.
You have this beautiful picture in your book about a jazz quartet or quintet. And although you're dealing with a hip hop sensibility, you also, it's easy to see how it relates to a jazz and blues sensibility. Why did you do that work?
Well, I think jazz is very much like hip hop. It's very improvisational. Hip hop is, improvisational. They're both from the streets. Jazz originated on the streets. Hip hop originated on the streets. So they both have the same origins. And, people always ask me, why do you paint jazz? And simply I say the same thing, because it's cool. Why do you paint hip hop? Because it's cool. It has the savoir faire of the inner city. And that's what my work is really about.
When you think, and this is not an art question, when you think about some of the communities that you're depicting, some of the urban communities where people may not be hopeful about either life or politics, do you think people are really going to turn out and vote? Do you think people are going to be able to transcend the disappointments of daily life and get themselves to the polls, or do you think that they're still cynical, a lot of people?
Well, doing some grassroots passing out of my own poster, I think that there are a lot of cynical people out there. But that being said, I think the reason that I did this is because I do sell more posters than any other living artist, and I did these posters, and I'm putting them out there for free for the people. And I'm doing that because I have the expectation that people are actually going to come out and come to the polls, because the propaganda on MTV, I think a lot of those kids don't buy into it. They feel like, MTV is just a machine, and certainly the slippery, serpentine, silver-tongued politicians they don't buy into. So I was hoping that, by getting my work out there, that it would bring some kind of authenticity to that demo, the younger demo, the 18 to 24-year-old kids who are like, okay, well, BUA is representing, BUA supports him. Maybe this is important. Let me look into it more. Shepard Fairey supporting him. Let me look into it more. So that, people who don't feel like they can make a change are really out of their mind. But you'd be surprised. I run into kids who are like, well, I'm an anarchist, man. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, you're delusional. You really need to do something. Okay, stop getting high, just for a little bit, and go to the polls and vote.
Stay straight for 8 hours and go ahead and vote. All right, on that note, BUA, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you so much.